On to part 2. What will the output of this code be? String array x equals new string allocated with size 4. String text equals this string, a bunch of stuff separated by commas, x equals text.split for system.out. So for this problem, there's actually a mistake right here because this isn't how you use split. What this was supposed to say, so this is actually a mistake in the test. So what this was supposed to say is text.split parentheses and in quotations the comma. It was supposed to split around these commas over here. I could make this a little bigger. This is supposed to split text around commas. So what you're supposed to end up with an array filled with latitude, longitude, 21.31 and 157.86. And then if you printed out x at 2, you should have gotten 0, 1, 2. So the correct answer for this is actually 21.31, but because of this mistake, if you wrote something about some kind of error while compiling, or any error at all, that would also count as correct. Question 5. The Java statement file A file equals new file B a file. So if you read the documentation for this, it creates a file object called A file that's associated with the file B file. So the correct answer is creates a file object that refers to the file named B file. This one. So A file is the name of the file object. B file is the file on your computer that A file is associated with. Next, we have consider the following Java statements. So you create a new file, in file, that's associated with names.txt. We create a scanner to read in from infile, and then we create a string array, a name allocated with size 100, int and names equals 0, while in.hasNextLine, a name at nnames equals in.nextLine, in.close. So what will happen if the file names.txt contains 50 lines and the loop reaches the last line? Okay. So, before each line is read in, we have this check right here in this while loop, hasNextLine. If the loop has reached the last line, read it in, and it comes back here, and there's nothing left, then hasNextLine will return false. This loop won't execute, and we'll go straight to the close. So, the correct answer is the loop will terminate without error, resulting in a partial array. Yes, so it'll read all 50 lines. Once it's at the end of the file, hasNextLine will return false. This loop will exit, and then the file will be closed. Consider the following Java statements. File, infile equals new file. So again, it's a file object called infile associated with a file called books.csv. You create a scanner, pass an infile, and then you try to scan in an integer from this file. So what happens if the first line of books.csv is the string? Title, author, volume 13, so it looks like some type of header. So when you try to read in an integer when it's actually a string type, because this cannot be parsed to an integer, you'll get an input mismatch exception because this cannot be read in as an integer. It can only be read in as a string. Now consider the following Java statements. A file associated with a file on your computer called B file. and then you create a scanner and you pass an A file. So which of the following is the correct way to read a line from the file that these statements are handling? So if you want to read in a line, that means you're going to be reading in a string, so you need to create a string variable. So it's either A, C, or D here. And then you read, next line is a scanner method. So you have to read from a scanner, which you have here, A scan. And next line. So the correct answer is string A line equals A scan dot next line. A file, the file object, has no next line method. And again, B file is the file on your computer. So this is just basic reading in from a scanner. And that was it for part B.